Hello, Magic Casters of all shapes and sizes. My name is Chance. Welcome to my Spellbook, and thank you so much for tuning into the 14th episode of our third level spell series. Today we have a very sadly disappointing spell in store for us today. It's not particularly as egregious as Find Traps, but I would put them in the same ballpark of disappointment. We're talking about Daylight. This spell is usable by the Cleric, Druid, Paladin, Ranger, and Sorcerer, and is found in the Player's Handbook. I have very strong feelings about this, but let's take a quick look at its mechanics regardless so we can break it down a little bit. The effect at a glance is as followed. Create a sphere of bright light that also extends dim light for another 60 feet. If the spell is cast on an object, it moves. Its location changes with the object. The spell also dispels areas of magical darkness of 3rd level or lower. Very interesting stuff. Its cast time is 1 action, its range is 60 feet, and it provides a 60-foot sphere. The duration is 1 hour, the components are verbal and somatic, and the school is Evocation. Now let's quickly check out the full description here and break this spell down a little bit, and I'll go over my grievances with it as well. A 60-foot sphere radius of light spreads out from a point you choose within range. The sphere is bright light and sheds a dim light for an additional 60 feet. If you choose a point on an object you are holding or one that isn't being worn or carried, the light shines from the object and moves with it, completely covering the affected object with an opaque object, such as a bowl or helm, blocks the light. If any of the spell's area overlaps with an area of darkness created by a spell of 3rd level or lower, the spell that created the darkness is dispelled. Very interesting stuff. So in more ways than not, this is an answer to the 2nd level spell Darkness. Now the reason I have a particular grievance with this spell is despite the fact that it is named Daylight, this spell does not provide sunlight to any capacity. So if you were hoping to get the jump on some vampires, for example, sadly not the case. There's a sage advice, little snip about it, but it's very disappointing. So essentially it's a glorified light spell, I guess. I don't like the fact that this consumes a 3rd level spell slot, especially considering the fact that so many 3rd levels are so great. And in 5e, when something like Dark Vision is super easy to come by, and a lot of classes already have it, not to mention Dark Vision itself is only a 2nd level spell slot, and there's a ton of items in the game that can help you get around that, it feels a little bit hollow to me. Like, I think this was just created as a direct answer to Darkness. I really do. In terms of how I would go about fixing it, I'd make it more akin to Flaming Sphere, something that you could move independent as a bonus action up to a certain distance. Through that same rationale, make it a concentration spell, and provide something like 2d10 radiant damage on a hit. Something like that, I think, would be a fair compromise. That kind of put it more so in line with a couple other 3rd level spells. But I don't know, I'll leave that up for you to decide. Let me know how you would go about changing the spell down beneath the comment section. Or if you think it's perfect the way it is, let me know why down there as well. That being said, let's take a quick look at some alternative uses here. So some of the better uses I could think of was, firstly, this is a great way to get around kind of darker environments. So if you're fighting at night or if you're fighting in caves and all of you for some reason don't have access to dark vision, this is a great way of making sure that combat is going to be more or less unimpeded, which is super nice. Outside of that, this is a great way of signaling other events. For example, cast this spell on an arrow and shoot it straight up into the sky. That's almost guaranteed to be noticed, and in turn might signal the rest of a plan to continue. Along that same vein of thought, this is a great way of attracting aggro to one particular party member. For example, have the paladin cast this on their sword and stand alone in a field, or presumably alone, meanwhile the rest of the party is in the bushes awaiting a sneak attack. So I think those are all fair ways of using this spell. That being said, let me know how you would use it down beneath in the comments section. Also be sure to mention any questions, comments, concerns, or stories you may have regarding Daylight. And if you like that cool hand-drawn Warforged and you like your own hand-drawn D&D character, please check out the guild hall to figure out exactly how to do that. That being said, I hope you have a great day, and as always, happy casting everyone.